The Mecklenburg County election debates are a service of WTVI, Mecklenburg County, and the League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg. The views and opinions expressed in these debates are those of the candidates and do not necessarily represent the views of WTVI, its management, Mecklenburg County, or the League of Women Voters.
PBS Charlotte and the League of Women Voters present Election Debate 2016.
Hello, I'm Danielle Koester with PBS Charlotte. Welcome to the U.S. House District 12 primary debate sponsored by PBS Charlotte and the League of Women Voters Charlotte-Mecklenburg. In the next 30 minutes, we'll talk with the three Democratic candidates running in the U.S. House District 12 race. The League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg provided the questions for the debate. The candidates have not heard the questions in advance. I'll call on the candidates in random order to answer questions. They will have between 30 seconds and 1 minute to answer each question. I'll be sure to let you know how much time you'll have to respond to each question. Now, if you'd like to challenge your opponent, raise up your yellow challenge card. You'll have 30 seconds to respond. Each candidate has 3 challenges during this debate. There are no opening statements, but each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 30-second closing statement. And now let's meet the Democratic candidates for U.S. House District 12. The candidates are Alma Adams, Gardenia Henley, and Juan Antonio Marin Jr. For our first question, we begin with Congresswoman Adams. You'll have 30 seconds to respond. The question is, what do you consider your greatest success in your first term?
Well, thank you for your question. I've had the privilege of serving the citizens of the 12th District now since 2014, November. We have been able to reach out to the entire district. We started the first hunger initiative. We've met with businesses and individuals and all the stakeholders to make sure that we were addressing the needs of the citizens. We have filed a number of bills that would help increase the minimum wage and to make provisions for people who want to have small businesses.
Thank you, Congresswoman Adams. For this next question, you will each have 30 seconds to answer. This question is to Ms. Henley and Mr. Marin. The question is, why do you think you can represent the people in the U.S. Congress better than Ms. Adams? And we will start with you, Mr. Marin.
I think I've been a leader my entire life. I was born in 1990, and now ever since my next brother Oscar was born, I've always, ever since he was born, I've been a leader of him, the one after him, and the one after him, and I've always wanted to. I've always had that anxiety. I've been able to control it and had that anxiety to move forward, move ahead in life, and the short-term goal is not to just be congressman, but the long-term goal is to maybe one day be the youngest and first president of the United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. And Ms. Henley, your response?
Yes, thank you very much. I know that I am the person to take the 12th District into the area that it needs to be in. I'm the only candidate that is a veteran, decorated veteran. I'm the only candidate that has national and international experience. My background as an inspector general put me in a position where I used to audit and investigate legislation, and I also fought fraud, waste, and abuse for over 22 years, for 2 decades. And so that puts me far in between the other people running for this office, the 12th District.
Thank you, Ms. Henley. Now, this next question is also to Ms. Henley and Mr. Marin, and you will each have 1 minute to answer this question. The question is, what would you want to accomplish in a first term in the U.S. Congress? And we'll start with you, Ms. Henley.
Thank you very much. Well, the 12th District has some issues that need to be dealt with very quickly. And the first thing that I would like to do is to get the district, look at economic development and deal with that aggressively. We have several cities within the 12th District that's been rated nationally as the poorest cities in the state. And also, I'd like to aggressively deal with the veterans in the 12th District. As you all know, that I'm a veteran, and I feel that no veteran should fight in a foreign war and then come back to the United States and have to fight for their benefits. That's very near and dear to my heart. And then we have the issue of homelessness. And, I want to deal with that very aggressively as well. And also, the people in the 12th District need jobs, and we need someone with my experience that's going to be willing to go forward and do what needs to be done to deal with the businesses that are currently in this district, to help them, to give them incentives or whatever needs to be done so that we can bolster employment.
Thank you, Ms. Henley. And your response, Mr. Morin?
Above all, education. I believe, like in Nova Scotia and Canada, the teachers are held in high regard, like doctors. I went back and thanked the people at Blackburn Elementary School, Jacobs Fork Middle School, and Fritzy Ford High School. They're the ones who put me where I am at the moment, became an engineer, and still got to go back to UNC Charlotte. Definitely mental health. I suffer from bipolar disorder 1, but so did Robin Williams, Mel Gibson, and Demi Lovato. So I believe I was made for the big screen. So, and another one of the things, like Ms. Henley was saying, poverty. 3 weeks ago, I just came back from Mexico, and I saw poverty firsthand. And also in this first world country, they suffer it as well. 2 things I brought back with me were definitely the humility of the people and the hospitality that people give you. They feed you even what they don't have to eat.
Thank you, Mr. Morin. Now, for the remainder of the questions, you will... Yes, you'd like to challenge Congresswoman Adams.
Well, I'd like to comment and say that all of the issues that have been raised by these 2 individuals here, we have consistently worked on, started the Hunger Initiative, have reached out to our veterans, and actually have filed 4 bills in support of our veterans, not only their right to work, but giving them an opportunity to start small businesses, providing funding for those things as well. So hunger is a problem. I started the Hunger Initiative. We're working in the community to do that, as well as to address homelessness, not only with veterans, but with other individuals as well.
Thank you, Congresswoman Adams. Would either of you like to respond?
I would like to respond, please. One of the problems that we're having in the 12th District is, I realize what has been said that has been done, but I'm not seeing that. We're not seeing that, especially with the veterans. The veterans are saying, well, everyone's saying that they're doing this to help us, they're doing that to help us, but veterans are still going to the VAs, not being able to get their benefits, not getting the administrative help that they want. We still have veterans right here in the 12th District who are committing suicide, who are homeless, and we have female veterans especially who are, subjected to these type of conditions. So when we talk about that, we need someone that's going to get results. We're looking at results and not just what initiatives have been put forward.
Thank you. Now for this next question and the remainder of questions in this debate, they will be for all of you to have a chance to respond. For this next question, you'll have 1 minute to respond. The question is, how can a minority party representative influence a majority-controlled Congress? And we'll start with you, Congresswoman Adams.
Well, I've given 30 years to public service in local and state government. I've had the opportunity to work across the aisles. I think that there are many things that Congress people have in common. I have filed and started the first bipartisan HBCU caucus. Other bills that help with the health of women and children, which have been bipartisan solutions. Just recently, we looked at I-73, creating a coalition with not only Virginia but North Carolina and South Carolina to deal with and address those issues of transportation. So there are ways to work. I think you have to have the experience, the knowledge, and ability to do it, and I've demonstrated that I've been able to do that.
Thank you, Congresswoman Adams. And now, Ms. Henley, your response.
Yes, when it comes to minority versus majority, I see there's basically one issue that we need to deal with, and that's for someone to be able to to be willing to work with both sides regarding their party affiliations. Regardless of that, it doesn't matter. And if you have that experience, like the experience that I have, national and both international, you're used to dealing with people who may in some cases be considered an adversary or what have you, but you have to be able to come to the drawing board, to come to the table and be able to work with them regardless to, the shortcomings that they may feel that the initiative have or what have you. So that's one of the things that I bring to the table, and many more. But we have to just be willing to want to work and get the job done and do what needs to be done, and not look at the affiliations, the party affiliations or what have you.
Thank you, Ms. Henley. And Mr. Marin, your response.
I agree with Ms. Henley about it being a nonpartisan issue. Our founding fathers, they created the Constitution. They called it a democratic republic. Hence, you got your Democrats and your Republicans. And I think they spent a lot of time thinking about creating it and thinking about what they were doing. And the system works. The system works. It's just the people that are in the system. Not everyone, but some of the people in the system are the ones that are not making it work at the moment, be it special interest donations. But there does have to be the key word there, compromise at times. And why not, like Bernie Sanders is saying, a political revolution. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. For this next question, you'll each have 1 minute to respond. The question is, what's your position on an independent redistricting commission? Do you think the present system of redistricting is working? Ms. Henley, we'll start with you.
First of all, I would like to say kudos and thank you to to Reverend Barber of the NAACP for putting the lawsuit out there, and also kudos to the judges who had the courage and to actually be able to rule favorably in that regard. And also, I would like to make the comment that when it comes to the redistricting of the 12th district, we really need to not make the same mistakes that were made in the past. And the judges already have ruled that, what happened as far as the district was illegal. So now what we have to do is to move forward and just make sure that everybody is fairly represented, both Democrat and Republican, and that whenever the lines are actually drawn, that there is no bias, and the people, and we need to consider the people of the 12th district and not politics. Politics needs to come out of it when we're talking about people and the people's lives and their livelihood.
Thank you. Mr. Marin, your response.
I'll be honest, I've been doing this for about 6 weeks now. I'm an engineer, but I was forced to run, unfortunately, for politics. But it inspired, let's say the word. Youth needs to be running nowadays, so why not? Honestly, I took a look at the district, and it looks like a river, the District 12. But it's just due to a lot of increased gerrymandering and trying to catch all the big populations that'll get you elected, and that's not the way we should go about business.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. Congresswoman Adams, your response?
I think we are at a point now where I think we're going to see some real change. This district and District 1, I think, were the two districts that were challenged. I have called for a long time a bipartisan commission that would not be connected with the legislature or the Congress to redraw and to draw lines. Because when people get involved in it, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you tend to want to safeguard the areas that you might be living in or want to represent. So I think that's the only impartial way to make sure that we have not only a democratic process, but that we have lines that are not governed by people, but by a nonpartisan group, so that the will of the people can be heard. So I do applaud what has happened. I think that we are looking now toward at least trying to get to that step of a nonpartisan or bipartisan redistricting committee.
Thank you. Now, for this next question, you will each have 30 seconds to respond. The question is, what's the role of the federal government in creating good jobs to help the people in District 12? And we'll start with you, Mr. Morin.
The role of the federal government. That is a good question. Like I said, I'm a 6-week politician. I'm not very skilled in some areas, but I think that should be just the federal government giving money over to the states for education. I don't really think there should be what's it called, trickle-down economics. I'm not a big fan of that. That Ronald Reagan said, "We're give it to big business and then it trickles down to the small businesses." But the federal government should find ways to, without trying to continue raising the debt, to bring it down and be able to, through donations, help create jobs. So
Thank you, Mr. Morin. Congresswoman Adams, your response.
I have the opportunity to serve on several committees. One is the Small Business Committee. The other is Education and the Workforce, and there are others, but I don't have time to talk about them. But I think that the federal government does have a responsibility, and I think they can make investments in terms of infrastructure. We can invest in small businesses, and that's what we're trying to do right now, to make provisions for small businesses, because they're the ones who are going to be hiring people, and they hire the most people. So I think we can invest in those ways. We can provide support for our universities, our community colleges that are doing research and those kinds of things. Those things bring jobs to this district.
Thank you. Oh, you'd like to challenge
Yes.
Mr. Morin?
Now that she mentioned small business, in 2008, my father had we had a Mexican restaurant, and due to the recession, the crash, that is a great idea to invest in small businesses. As far as that, I agree with you there. To try, like I said, not give it to the big corporations, but the small people that are trying to start from the ground up. That way, you can continue revitalizing the economy, bringing more jobs and that are being offshored back here locally. Unfortunately, we lasted there about 2 years, and he had to go bankrupt because business was bad. But you live and you learn. It's a rough, competitive world out there. So, yep.
Thank you, Mr. Morin. And now, Ms. Henley, your chance.
Yes, thank you very much. Of course, the federal government should play a very, very active role in helping the 12th district, especially when the 12th district was illegally gerrymandered. And most of the people, a lot of the people in a few of the cities especially that I have gone through and talked with are in a financial state of emergency. So the federal government is going to have to at some point come in and make some type of reparations. And what I mean by that is saying that the federal government is going to have to come in and put some funding into the 12th district. This is something that has not happened in the past. The 12th district has been subjected to taxation without representation. And these are things that we need to talk about and aggressively deal with. So the federal government definitely needs to play a financial role.
You can go ahead and challenge.
If I may just comment that I think it takes the membership and individuals in Congress to put those initiatives forward. I've been able to do that. If you check our website, you'll see the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've been able to bring back to this district to not only help with jobs, but also various programs as individuals, even small businesses, have submitted grants. So we follow those very carefully. As a matter of fact, in the way of veterans, we've had $200,000, over $200,000 that was given back to individuals who were still trying to get benefits. So we're working, listening, and trying to make things happen.
Ms. Henley, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to interject a bit on Congresswoman's comment. A lot of we have been told that a lot of things are happening, but in all actuality, the people in this district, in my district, the 12th district, they're not seeing it. We're not seeing the money. So perhaps the grant money or whatever is being channeled to the wrong direction. I'd like to see for the 12th district, the money that Congress is voting on and putting so-called money and putting into that district. I'd like to see it go to the areas that need it the most, and that is not happening at this point. And something needs to be done about that.
Congresswoman Adams, this is your final challenge.
Thank you very much. I just would invite Ms. Henley to give our office a call, go to the website. We have talked with individuals who have specifically said how much they appreciate the support and the financial support that we've given. So when you don't seek, you don't find. And I think that the information is out there, it is available, and we're happy to share it with you if you'll take time and just reach out to us.
And just to recap, Congresswoman Adams, you are out of challenges. Ms. Henley, you have one challenge left for the remainder of the debate. And Mr. Marin, you have two challenges left for the remainder of the debate. For this next question, you'll each have 30 seconds to respond. And the question is, do you support a living wage? What are the challenges in supporting it in Congress? We'll start with you, Congresswoman Adams.
I have always supported a living wage. When I was in the North Carolina House for 20 and a half years, I worked hard to increase the state's minimum wage. We need a living wage. People should not have to work hard 2 and 3 jobs every day and live in poverty. So I was able to get that done. I've gone to Congress. We filed the Wage Act, the Raise the Wage Act, also the wages as it relates to women. So I've been working on those things. We've had bills that have been filed and introduced, and we're working toward a solution. We need to have our wages indexed to inflation. That's what's going to help people as they continue to move forward.
Thank you. And Ms. Henley, your response?
Yes, I definitely support having a living wage. If we're not going to get a bill passed in Congress where we're going to increase the minimum wage, then we're going to have to do something different. We're going to have to take different measures. But the real question is, how are we going to get to this living wage to where people are actually going to convince the employers or whatever that they need to perhaps do what Walmart did and a few other people, just pay them above the normal minimum wage. So I think the challenge is that, I definitely do agree with that, but how are we going to get to that point? And I have in my plan identified ways that we can actually get there to having an effective living wage.
Thank you. And Mr. Marin?
I also support a living wage and the minimum wage because if you pay the workers more, that's a good way to motivate your workers, and you will see the fruits that'll be reaped from the more that they're earning. This is, like I said, a first world country, but as y'all see in many debates, presidential debates, the middle class, like they're saying, is disappearing. They're ultra poor and the ultra rich, and we need to go back to the times of the Industrial Revolution when that middle class was created.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. For this next question, you'll each have 1 minute to respond. The question is, given that the Affordable Care Act is the law of the land, what do you think can be done to improve it? And we will start with you, Ms. Henley.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say I'm very happy that we do have an Affordable Health Care Act. I'm very pleased with that. And I'm especially happy about the part where you have the pre-existing conditions. And, there are a lot of mothers who have, had children, had their babies, and the babies are born with a condition. And now, this will be covered, by the insurance companies or whatever. But one thing that I would like to see is that I don't feel that people should be forced or penalized if they don't buy into it. So I would like to work on some type of initiative to where if people cannot afford it, then we can provide some type of incentive where that they can. And also people who don't want to buy into it, then they will be able to make that decision if that's what they want to do. I think those are one of the most important things about the Affordable Health Care Act that perhaps need to be retweaked a little bit. But I love it. I enjoyed it, and I'm thankful about it, and I think that it needs to stay.
Thank you. And Mr. Marin, your response.
I do believe the Hillary, all the Democrats in Congress have been doing a good job at trying to provide health care for a lot of Americans in this country. Obamacare, a lot of people complain about it. I personally have been blessed through my hard work to have health care through my company at the moment. And I will be honest, I'm not too familiar with since I don't use it, all the qualifications and pre-existing conditions of this act. But I have heard some debates. I heard Hillary Clinton say that there's about 90% of the people that are covered now, but there's about 10% that they're still working on trying to get coverage. But we have the most coverage, according to her, the most coverage that there has been even in the past. So those are my opinion on that.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. And Congresswoman Adams, your response.
Thank you. I think the President's Affordable Care Act is a wonderful thing. I grew up without health insurance. Had a sick sister who died before her 27th birthday, but she got her care at the emergency room. So I understand people who don't have it and who need it. 409,000 North Carolinians now have health insurance who didn't have it. 319,000 are still without it. And that's because the governor, in his not-so-wisdom ideas, decided not to expand Medicaid. And I think if we had done that, and one of the things that I really think we need to do, I don't think we should give states the authority to make that decision. I think the federal government should have made it and should have required all states to participate, because there's so many people who are without it. It's going to cost the government. It's going to cost your local government, your state government more. And I would say in terms of small business that we need to provide greater incentives for them so that they can provide coverage for their employees. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Now for this next question, you'll each have 30 seconds to respond. The question is, health insurance companies claim to be losing money on ACA claimants. If we had Medicare for all, insurance premium funds could go directly to actual health care rather than executive salaries and shareholder dividends. What's wrong with this claim? We'll start with you, Mr. Marin.
The thing I think is wrong with this claim is that the health insurance is losing money, but this is just from their profits. You know, they're already making billions of dollars, be it life, be it automobile, be it health insurance. Health insurance companies own a lot of square feet in Times Square, New York. So that ends my answer.
Thank you. And Congresswoman Adams, your response.
I'm not really sure what the answer is. I do think that we need to always make sure that the people who need the coverage benefit. I have never supported the big guys getting everything and the little folks not getting what they need. So I really think that we need to take a very close look at it to see. You know, sometimes we hear things; they may be true, they may not be. But I think it's a claim that we probably need to investigate. But in all probability, I would always like to make sure that the people who need the coverage have an opportunity to get it without a lot of hassle.
Thank you. And Ms. Henley?
Yes, thank you. I have to say that I don't feel that the claim, the ACA claim, is well founded. And another thing that I would like to mention as well is that when and this is something I would like to work on aggressively, is when the Affordable Health Care Act was initiated, I feel that there should have been some clause there that would have prevented the health care companies from passing the bill down to, or the cost down to the consumers. And that's exactly what has happened. And so I feel that there should be some type of clause, or we need to tweak it a little bit to put a cap on what the insurers are passing down, the cost that they're passing down to the consumers.
All right. And this question, do you believe there should be term limits for U.S. congressmen and women? Why or why not? And you'll each have 30 seconds to respond. We'll start with you, Ms. Henley.
Thank you very much. I am a strong believer in having term limits. Term limits will keep elected officials from establishing little mini empires or large empires. I was a part of the President Kennedy's Peace Corps. I was an Inspector General Officer for the Peace Corps, and the Peace Corps sort of like set the standard for having term limits. And as Kennedy said, and I agree with that, it was the fact that he did not want anyone to establish empires. And so I believe that, you come in and you make your mark and then you move on for new ideas and better ideas, actually.
Thank you. And Mr. Marin, your response?
I agree with her. I do with Ms. Henley. We do. It is a good idea to have term limits. They were definitely put into place as far as the presidency when Franklin D. Roosevelt was in office. He just lasted so long. He was such a great president. He's, as far as great leaders, he's one of my third favorite, followed by Winston Churchill and Nelson Mandela. But once a person is in power too long, they start. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, so you never know when the human mind might go where it shouldn't be
Thank you,
going.
Mr. Marin. And Congresswoman Adams, your response?
I've always generally felt that the people will determine your limits. If you're not doing a good job, then they have a responsibility to go out and get you out of there. And people they have the right to do it. They have the power to do it by going and voting in every election, not just in presidential elections. But I would also say that, that may be something that we want to look at. I always, again, I still believe, and I haven't been in the Congress that long to see, but I got to tell you, sometimes being there past your limit, and I don't know what the limits would be, means that you're able to get something done. It was like 9 years before we were able to get the minimum wage increased in North Carolina. Had I not been there, maybe that wouldn't have happened.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And you had a challenge, Ms. Henley?
I do. I'd just like to say that in some cases, perhaps the people should be able to determine an elected officials or candidates' time in service or whatever. But in some cases, and I would say especially because we lack campaign finance reform, that it doesn't always happen. And that's something that needs to be dealt with. But we can't always rely on the fact that, saying, a blanket comment saying that the people will do this or that, because we do have issues in some counties where officials are being elected into office illegally and unethically.
Thank you, Ms.
I would
Henry.
also like to challenge.
Go ahead, Mr. Marin.
Ms. Adams, I do believe if they're doing a good job, that will only show with the reelection. That's what the people run for office. If they're doing a good job, the next 2 years, hey, I'm doing a good job. There should be no worry that I'm going to win. And there's always that last clause in the Constitution of if the people don't like their government, they can always take the government back. So, yep.
Now it's time for our 30-second closing statements, and we'll begin with you, Congresswoman Adams.
First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and PBS for having me. I want to just appeal to the people and say that I'm very proud of the work that my office has been able to do in Washington. I continue to use my experience in public service. It's been over 30 years to fight for public education, for a living wage, and to protect the middle class and our families, and to work on the elimination of hunger. My office has worked to represent every person in the 12th Congressional District as a part of one district, and we really need one district. So I'd be honored to have the opportunity to serve. I'm Alma Adams, absolutely the right voice for the 12th District. Appreciate your vote in both elections, the primary and the general.
And your 30-second closing statement, Ms. Henry.
Thank you very much. First of all, I too would like to thank WTVI and the League of Women Voters and PBS for allowing us to come and give our opinions and talk about what we're doing and what we plan to do. And I'd like to say that I would ask the people of the 12th District to really consider seriously the background and the experience, and do some homework and go to my website and read more about me, thepeoplescandidate.org. I'm the only candidate who has a plan, and it's called the Henley Plan, a plan for, what I want to do for this great district. And also I want to say that I'm the only candidate that has national and international experience, and I am an Air Force veteran. I've been fighting for you for over 22 years, and I'll continue to do that.
And now, Mr. Marin, your 30-second closing statement.
Above all, I'd like to thank God, because without him I wouldn't be here. We do need to invest more in our teachers and our education. We need to get rid of the big I word, the ignorance, and learn a little bit more about people with mental health disabilities. We are different, but we're not aliens. And I would also like to end with we do need. I would say that we need a woman president. Pick your party, but Carla Farina dropped out, so we need a woman president, and the slogan's the one and only. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. Again, we want to say thanks to each of the Democratic candidates in the U.S. House District 12 race for taking part in this debate. For more information about the League of Women Voters Charlotte-Mecklenburg, go to www.goleaguego.org. Please remember to cast your vote. The primary will be held Tuesday, March 15th.